Hey, what's going on? I got a question here, a comment actually on one of my videos where someone said revisit this bruh. It's from I'm not even gonna try and read his name, but I thought yeah, it's about time I revisited this idea of like gaining respect and people respecting you. Actually, I was just talking to one of my coaching clients, and we were talking about kind of an issue with his father-in-law and about some issues around respect. And I won't go into like the personal details of this, but essentially what it came down to, and this is something that I've discovered in my own life, is that people won't respect you unless you set boundaries, right? And you don't allow them to cross those boundaries. And it's a very, very difficult thing to do because in general, people will disrespect you if they perceive that you're weak and that they can bully you, especially powerful people. Okay, I did a review on this book called Boundaries, which I always recommend. It's a very, I'll say Christian book, very religious book, but even if you're not religious, you should still read the book simply because it has such valuable content on setting boundaries. But essentially it comes down to this. It comes down to this idea that you have to establish what you will tolerate or not. And a lot of people, when they hear this, they take this the wrong way. And what they do is they make threats, right? So they try to basically manipulate people into respecting them by making threats at them by saying like, if you do this, I will do this, right? And a lot of times they're empty threats, and so they serve no purpose, right? And you've seen this before, right? Where people try to intimidate, and maybe you've seen a drunk person yelling at the bar, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna fucking kick your ass if you fucking shut your fucking mouth, or I'm gonna kick your ass." And well, that might be somewhat scary, and it might be a good, threat. It's not very effective. It's not as effective as implying something, right? And instead of actually making a threat or just taking an action. But if you want people to respect you, okay, you have to do things that are worthy of respect, and you have to respect yourself, all right? And so if you're constantly disrespecting yourself and you're drawing lines in the sand, but then you keep on redrawing those lines, then people are not going to respect you. And so, because they're going to know that your yes doesn't mean yes and your no doesn't mean no. So you have to be very, very clear. And along with that, you have to be very careful about when you actually put your foot down. Okay, and like I said, it doesn't look like threatening people. It doesn't look like trying to bully and force people to do what you want. That's the opposite. That will not gain you respect. That shows kind of a desperation and a need to control people. Okay? Instead, what gaining respect looks like is having clearly in your mind what you're willing to tolerate, what your boundaries are, and when people cross those boundaries, gently telling them, "Hey, this is not cool," or, "I don't appreciate this." And when they continue to cross those boundaries, removing yourself from the situation or taking some kind of action. Okay, so if I am in a situation where there's a possible physical confrontation, for example, I don't make threats. I don't say, "Hey, I'm going to kick your ass," right? If someone is like pushing me or something like that, I say, "Don't push me." Right? And if they push me again, then they're going to get punched in the face, right? It's just going to happen automatically. It's not going to be a threat. I'm not going to make all these claims about anything. It's just going to happen, okay? Again, I mean, that's maybe an extreme example. Not everyone is involved in that kind of a situation, and I'm not that often, honestly. But the same type of thing, right? If I'm in a conversation with someone and I say, "Hey, you know what? Do not address me that way. I don't like it if you call me an idiot. Do not say that." Okay? And they do. Then I just leave. Then I'm like, okay. I don't even say why, right? I don't have to say why. I'm not justifying. I'm just saying, they say, "Hey, don't be such a fucking idiot." And that's it. And I'm gone. And I'm out of there. And if that means that I'm losing a business deal, if that means that I'm losing a friend, if that means I'm not doing some activity that I was planning on doing, it's fine. I'm willing to accept the consequences because people that are around me need to know that when I say some shit, I mean some shit. I fucking mean business. I don't need to make threats. I don't need to do anything like that. I'm also willing to accept the consequences. See, a lot of people kind of get in this bluff mode, right? And they're constantly in this bluff mode. And if you're in this bluff mode, what it is it's like you're willing to, defend yourself, or step up for yourself, except for when there's consequences, right? If you're willing to accept the consequences and people know that, it's kind of like the crazy person. You stay away from the crazy person because they're literally capable of anything. They don't have any kind of fear of consequences, right? And when you become that kind of person, but you do it in a calm way, people will respect you because they know that you're going to follow through, that you're going to do what you say, okay, and that you don't need to make threats, right? Because you're someone who takes action. So that's kind of it. That's the basic thing, right? Is that, and I'll say one last thing about this, which is that it all sort of hinges on this idea of respecting yourself. And like everything that I'm saying here, right, the underlying principle about having other people respect you is they're only going to respect you as much as you respect yourself. No one will ever respect you more than you respect yourself. And so, you can look at all of your behavior and filter it all through that lens of, is this something that respects myself, right? If you can't control yourself and can't control your emotions, you don't have self-respect, okay? So other people aren't going to respect you. If you make threats all the time, right, because you can't follow up because you're in constant bluff mode and you can't just take action, you don't respect yourself. You're lying to yourself all the time. You're willing to lie and willing to manipulate and try to use brute force in order to get what you want instead of just going and taking it, right? So you don't respect yourself. Okay, if you can't control, your own interactions with people, okay, if you can't stick to what you say when you deal with other people, again, all of this comes down to an idea that you don't respect yourself, right? If you can't take care of your body, if you can't take care of all of these things that are things that someone who self-respects, who has a self-respecting person would do, then you don't respect yourself. So why would someone else respect you? Okay, and the last thing, I guess I said the other thing was last thing, but you also can't force people to respect you. You can't say, hey, you need to respect me, right? I mean, how many relationships, where you're being disrespected and you're trying to get the other person to respect you by forcing them, by telling them that they better respect you or they better respect your authority or whatever it is. Maybe you're a boss, right? You can't do that. It doesn't work that way. You can't force someone to respect you. Instead, what you can do is you can act consistent with your own principles and you can not allow people to step over your boundaries. That's the key. And when you do that and you're willing to accept those consequences, then people will know that you mean business. And when they do start to respect you, okay, which they will, then their attitudes and behaviors towards you will change. But when you're first trying to do this, if you're in a situation where people disrespect you all the time, they're going to laugh. They're not going to think you're serious. And they're going to not take you seriously because you've already established a pattern of not being respectable. So you're going to have to reestablish a new pattern by setting those boundaries, by enforcing those boundaries, by walking away from conversations, by removing yourself from situations, by taking action repeatedly until people stop fucking with you, right? Once I started doing this in my life, all these people that were fucking with me all the time, they stopped fucking with me. They stopped trying because they knew, because they're like, okay, when John, there's no point in fucking with John, trying to twist his arm, trying to, manipulate him or whatever, because he's going to fucking do what he's going to do, and he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit. He's not going to invest into relationships or conversations or actions that are not in his mind respectful to him. If you disrespect him, he's just not going to be here. You're not going to be part of his life. So they stopped trying to do that shit to me. So, but before then, when they thought, hey, it's open season on John, I would get disrespected all the time, and I'd wonder why, and I'd try to negotiate my way out of it, and it doesn't work that way. So, all right. Hopefully you found that useful. If you did, make sure you share it with a friend. Click the bell. Just click the subscribe button, and then click the bell so you don't miss any videos. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.